and welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason and this is a Majorette No. 216 Toyota Lite Ace. It was produced for their 200 series between 1983 and 1992. This version in metallic blue with red and silver side tampos featuring a Puma is from 1990. It is based on the M20 generation Toyota Lite Ace, which was made between 1979 and 1985. In particular, it is a pre-facelift car, distinguished by its front turn signal layout and badging. This facelift occurred in 1982. For my custom today, I'll be basing the design on that of a later LiteAce, the 1985 to 1988 third generation. This is how a clean M20 LiteAce looks, but mine will have the colour scheme of a later four-wheel drive model. More on my custom shortly. The last Majorette model to carry the number 216 was the Plymouth Fury police car in 1980. The LiteAce filled that gap in 1983 with a yellow painted van with blue bird tampos to the side. This had a red interior which it kept until 1989. For 1984, the model had a wheel change to this 6-spoke design, but otherwise the model was unchanged. Between 1985 and 1988, it had eagle tampos to the sides and the roof. These were red on silver for 1985, red on white for 1986 and 1987, then gold on black for 1988. Until now, most transparencies had been tinted orange. Then, in 1989, it was recoloured metallic blue, had a clear transparency and had a pink interior. The LiteAce kept the blue body for 1990, but the interior changed to white. The 1990 model could be found with or without the Puma tampos that adorned mine. For 1991, the tampo design remained, but had some extra black detailing applied helping to define the Puma. The body colour was a darker metallic blue, and the tampos were now orange and yellow coloured. In 1992, the red interior returned, but the blue body paint stayed. It had new tampos that read Sport, First Lap and Turbo with a checkered flag to each side. It had a wheel variation for this year with the 5-dash design. Another 1992 variation was a white-bodied van with tribal-style drawings to the roof and sides. There was one other undated model in lime green that had a red interior and number 17 and fictional sponsorship decals. The LiteAce was originally developed by Toyota subsidiary Toyota Autobody as a larger upscale model line to sit above their Mini Ace. It also filled the gap to the larger High Ace. Its dimensions were in keeping with Japanese regulations, meaning it was in a lower tax bracket than the High Ace. The front cab-over-engined rear-wheel drive vehicle was available as a pickup initially on launch in 1970, with a one-box van version arriving in early 1971. While the Mini Ace had a payload capacity of 500 kilograms, the LiteAce could handle double that. The van initially had 4 doors, 2 front, 1 curbside passenger door and the rear hatch. A dual sliding door van came in 1973 with an optional high roof. Seating was available across up to 3 rows, providing seats for 3 or 6 in van spec and up to 9 in passenger spec. This 9-seat model was retired in 1975 as it did not meet new Japanese emissions standards. In 1976, the elongated Town Ace was launched based on the M10 LiteAce platform. The LiteAce was powered by an 1166cc or a later 1290cc petrol engine with a 4-speed manual transmission. The larger engine arrived in 1978 at the same time that the LiteAce received a small facelift. It was also sold as the Daihatsu Delta 750. In 1979, the M20 generation launched and became the first to be widely exported. The passenger van could seat 8 in a 233 configuration and had reclining seat backs for the second and third rows. Optional extras included dual zone air conditioning, 4-speaker audio system and aluminium wheels. The high roof GXL model had a moonroof option. The LiteAce initially came equipped with the 1290cc engine or a 1770cc unit for the truck version. Optional 3-speed automatic or 5-speed manual transmissions joined the standard 4-speed box in 1980. Top-of-the-line FXV vans had optional swivel seats, and a rear-facing third row arrived in 1982. A model called the Montana had loft beds and electrically operated curtains equipped. The 1982 facelift also brought with it the addition of power steering. Now optional were 1.6 litre engines for the van, 1.8 for the truck, while a new 1.8 litre diesel was offered across the range. The 1982 second generation Town Ace used the LiteAce as a donor with minor trim changes. Production of the M20 van ran until 1985, while the truck carried on for a further year. The LiteAce formed the basis of the Daihatsu Delta again up until 1982. The third generation LiteAce went on sale in 1985. It was now wider and came with rack and pinion steering. Seating saw the van have a standard first row, a second row for the wagon to seat 5 or 6, and optional third row seats that could be stowed away for more luggage space. It had a 1.5 litre or 1.8 litre petrol engine and two 2 litre engines, one normally aspirated and the other turbocharged. When the truck went on sale in 1986, it was sold with the NA diesel or a 2 litre petrol engine. The LiteAce van was offered with a part-time 4-wheel drive system, and that is specifically what I'm basing my custom on. The 1985 to 1988 models had chunky off-road tyres fitted which lifted the stance of the van. The 4-wheel drive system featured a low-range gearbox, and it advertised the fact with 4WD decals across the exterior. Seeing as the M20 generation of the car wasn't offered with 4-wheel drive, I've taken the approach a perhaps jealous owner might have, say they couldn't afford to upgrade to the real McCoy for instance. I'm painting the model the same golden brown colour scheme, but I won't print out any 4WD decals for it, as that's like putting a Ferrari badge on a Fiat 500. I'll give it some chunky Greenlight off-road tyres to give it that lift it needs. The third generation LiteAce van was sold up until 1992, though the truck variant was produced with updates all the way through until 2007. From 1992, the LiteAce became a derivative of the Town Ace line. Both ranges were fully overhauled in 1996 for the first time since 1982. The new R40 and R50 generation ran until 2007. Since 2008, the Town Ace and LiteAce have been badge-engineered versions of the Daihatsu Grand Max. So earlier, you might have noticed I completely wasted my own time by polishing the base using Autosol, only to then go on and paint it brown. Not sure I was thinking all that straight then, but I thought I'd include the footage just to explain the extraordinarily shiny base and avoid any breaks in continuity. The colour scheme meant that I needed to continue the brown bumpers on the lower portions of the body. The cast trim line certainly helped with the painting efforts. In order to give the casting that faux off-road look it is meant to be copying from its younger sibling, I've taken these chunky Greenlight off-road wheels which look pretty similar to the real thing. You've seen me detailing that brilliant interior and the base piece, so now it's time to finish the job detailing the body. After the base chrome has been laid down for the tail lights, I can begin drawing in that trim line that separates the golden brown.
Golden brown, texture like sun.
Alongside this black trim line, I can also draw in the 3 sets of door handles, since the rear passenger area is accessed curbside only. The tail lights are coloured using Sharpie pens, as over chrome I think these give a better depth than the thicker paint pens alone. We are approaching the final phases of this build now. I add in the black plastic trim that outlines the headlights, which I think helps make them stand out quite a bit. What do you think? I'm happy with that. The finishing touch is some Citadel Gloss Nuln Oil to all of the lighting. This is another technique that I've long used to add greater depth and realism to the lighting. Less so on the panel gaps these days. Lastly, the base and body get a clear coat to lock in all of that detailing. Now let's put this LiteAce back together. A small post in the roof of the casting helps align the transparency. Following that goes in my beige interior, very 1980s. Finally, the base connects to the body using a hook and slot fitment at the front, and the rear pushes over those 2 shallow rivets. So here was how my rather unexciting Toyota Lite Ace was looking before I set to work on it. It's a classic Majorette model that benefits greatly from their terrific suspension setups. It was in production for 9 years, so it is a common and quite popular casting. I wanted to turn it into the 4-wheel drive LiteAce, but that came a generation later. So, like an envious owner of the older gen, I decided to create a lookalike. A sheep in wolf's clothing, if you will. See what I mean? It's similar, but not the same, though it shares elements with the real deal. In particular, the wheels, which are a match I'm really pleased with. I loved the colour scheme, so I was keen to recreate that most of all. I spent a good deal of time detailing the interior, which unfortunately you can't see much of here. I've got the tailgate open at the video outro though, so stick around for that. I've also got some wild Australian TV advertising for the M30 generation van running in the background, which is well worth a watch. So tell me your thoughts on this casting and my custom effort in the comments. Leave a like if you enjoyed it, and make sure you hit that subscribe button to stay in the loop whenever I release a new video. Check out Diecast Restos on Instagram too for early previews of my builds. And please, if you can, support the channel on YouTube memberships or Patreon to keep it in business. All pledges are gratefully received. So thanks for watching, and see you again for the next one. Bye for now.